Welcome into Rounding the Bases, the podcast about culture and leadership with a baseball twist, presented by Enterprise Bank and Trust. Hashtag no stopping you. Enterprise Bank and Trust was founded by entrepreneurs with the core focus of serving privately owned, small and medium-sized businesses who have a story to tell. Enterprise Bank's commitment is to listen, learn, and guide clients to a lifetime of financial success. Enterprise Bank, together, there's no stopping you. I'm Joel Goldberg, coming to you from the Kansas City Audio Visual Studios. They create engaging spaces. Check them out at kcav.com. Starting to wind down this season of Rounding the Bases, and more episodes coming up in the month of April. My guest today really could talk about a lot of interesting elements. His world is property management, and his name is Brandon Laughridge. He is the president of North Terrace Property Management, a firm that focuses on management of small multifamily properties in the Kansas City metro area. They provide management, accounting, maintenance, and more for a growing portfolio of multifamily properties here in KC. There's a lot more to the story than just that, and I'm happy to bring into Rounding the Bases Brandon Laughridge. Brandon, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you, and I know that you and I connected a while back, and you love this world that you're in. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, I think that there are different levels, you see this every day, of people's understanding of real estate, of property management, and you have that inside peek, you have that everyday knowledge and experience with it. I want to start with this. What is it that you love so much about this field?
Well, I think we have, I guess, starting from an apologist point of view, but we have the toughest job in real estate, but it's also the most important job. I mean, you can take a perfect property and manage it poorly, and you're going to get poor results. You can take a poor property and manage it well and get pretty good results. So it's high stakes, but it's fun and it's exciting to continue managing things well and also turn around poor performers.
Was this something when you were at Mizzou that you knew? I know that your focus was the finance and the business world. Is this what you were thinking about? I always like that question because it's usually not what people have in mind, but maybe it was. What were you thinking in college?
No, I've always had an interest in finance and real estate investing. I didn't think that property management specifically would be my entree into that world. I worked for some entrepreneurial guys while I was at Mizzou, and they were pretty large owners of multifamily in Columbia, and I got to see sort of what a vertically integrated real estate company looked like on sort of a medium scale, and it was interesting. But no, it was 7 or 8 years removed from college when I actually started to see, property management as my real sort of angle to get into real estate.
It's an interesting path too, because first off, we can talk about this in a moment. You went out to beautiful California and you experienced a lot of fun stuff, I know, and certainly grew as a person and as a professional. But you also were really involved in the marketing end of the world too. Tell me about that and how much that's affected your career path.
Sure. Well, I was fortunate enough, like I mentioned there, when I went to Mizzou to I'm kind of ashamed to say the best part of my college experience was probably the stuff outside of college. And I don't mean, all the fun stuff, but actually the kind of part-time job I had there. I actually got hired. I think it was through Craigslist. It was either Craigslist or the student newspaper, the Maneater, but I think it was Craigslist, to work for a marketing company that was really part of sort of a family of small businesses. And it had a very entrepreneurial college kind of culture, which is pretty natural in a college town, and got exposed to a lot of different industries, real estate, the mortgage world, a little bit of kind of the vacation rental business, sort of Airbnb before there was such a thing. And my specific role, just by no sort of design, ended up being working in marketing, kind of a SEO grunt, I guess you could say, and just had an interest in it and ran with it.
So what did you know about SEO then compared to now?
I knew nothing about it then, and I know nothing about it now, if I'm being honest. I knew a little bit in between, but But I've been out of that world for a while now.
Yeah.
It's a very rapidly changing world, and when you're gone for a few years, you kind of lose it all, to be honest.
Well, the property management world is changing rapidly too. I mean, you mentioned Airbnb, and it feels like most people know what Airbnb or VRBO or Verbo, I don't even know what they call it,
They changed it. It
is.
used to be VRBO, now
I
it's
don't know.
Verbo.
Yeah, I never knew if I was right or wrong. I just tried both ways, and nobody really seems to care either way. I just know that they seem to take a lot of money for your cleaning and all that type of stuff. So there's a business there, but you understand so much more of it. What what element do you like most about that business? Because I know that there's certainly that element of helping people on many different levels too. What's the allure to you?
I mean, I really enjoy being resident focused, because ultimately, what gets lost with a lot of operators, whether they're third party managers like us or owner operators, is that it's a very unique asset class where it's someone's home. I mean, it doesn't get much more
Hmm.
sensitive than that. So we focus on residents first, and our clients second, as opposed to the other way around. And sometimes that can create issues. It's an interesting industry because you kind of have three sometimes conflicting sort of things pulling at you. That's your employees of your company, your residents, and your clients. And at times they can kind of have competing interests. But we come at it from an angle of serving the resident first. One, I mean, it's obviously just the right thing to do, but I think it's just good business.
That to me is so obvious, but yet so many people miss it, right? And that's not just true in property management. And by the way, I'm not talking about Brandon running a bunch of Airbnbs or whatever it is, but um, it's amazing to me how often in every profession that we can forget about taking care of people first too. You obviously get that. There are a lot of folks in your business that don't get that too. I just wonder if that's a competitive advantage.
It is, I think, and it's something that we're really focused on, and we've really made a huge extra effort over the last year. And in fact, we like internally circle. Everybody does a weekly update, all of our team, and everybody is supposed to include one resident win every week. And those all go to me, and then I kind of talk up the best amongst the whole team. But it's supposed to be that constant reminder that the resident is first. We don't talk about a client win every week, as an example.
I want to go back a little bit. I have to imagine that as a college kid, and now you're in Southern California, and you're living the quote unquote good life. We'll talk about why you came back and that move for you in a bit, but tell me a little bit about a young Brandon Laughridge and what you were doing out in the San Diego area.
Well, I met a gentleman through that college job or series of jobs. It was really kind of a series of jobs for the same group of people. I met a future business partner who I worked for, and then we became partners. And we started a business towards the end of my time at Mizzou, under the premise of basically going out and providing marketing services, but not doing it as an agency, and instead doing it as sort of an investor, where we didn't really invest capital. We invested a little bit of capital, but mostly marketing expertise. And we did sort of one partnership like that prior to forming that as an entity, and it was a soccer retailer, and it went very well. Then we decided to sort of hang our hat and do that as a business. And the partnerships after that first one were a lot more challenging. So we got a little bit lucky on the first one, and then found out that wasn't necessarily the best model in the world. So we pivoted that business into a purely services based business, basically an online marketing agency, which is sort of what we set out not to be. But you're young business, you got to kind of chase the revenue and the opportunity. And we had some big clients who were dangling big opportunities, so we took it. And that afforded us the ability to I moved out right after I graduated from college, got married, moved out to California. That's San Diego specifically. That's where young people go to retire, they say. So that's what we did. We had a little team in St. Louis, and we actually moved out 4 or 5 guys from St. Louis and had our little kind of frat house on the beach situation. And it was a pretty fun couple of years.
So I guess, at some point you grow up, but actually, no, let me back up. Not everybody does grow up, and not everybody gets a chance to experience that too. But how much did that shape you, shape your wife, and you're having early success? And that can be very alluring. Success is alluring to all of us, of course, but now you're living in what may be one of the most beautiful places in the country, certainly weather-wise. It's tough to really find a better spot. I mean, unless you like snow, I guess, and skiing. But how much did those early years shape you?
I mean, a lot. We lived out there for 4.5 or 5 years. Um, I came back to Kansas City with the confidence to tell people I ate quinoa and things like that. But no, I'm joking. But it did have a big effect, and that was an interesting place to live because nobody was really from San Diego. Everybody was from other places. So in terms of growing up in Kansas City, then going to Mizzou, and kind of my diversity was meeting somebody from Chicago at Mizzou. Prior to that, it was pretty cool to have that experience of broadening my network, and then I forged a lot of good friendships that are still pretty close, kind of professional friendships today, even though I've moved back to Kansas City and have a lot of ties there still.
So how do you go from that to North Terrace, and from that to property management, and that as still, a younger married couple, to San Diego to Kansas City?
So while we were running that online marketing agency that I said we kind of fell into, the reason that we didn't want to be in that business was because kind of the services that we were providing, like I said, didn't know anything about SEO and don't again. Always evolving, and always felt very fleeting, and like at any moment, the sort of tactics that were successful could be totally different tomorrow, and it's a frustrating way to build a business, to feel like what you're having success with could be gone tomorrow, basically. So as sort of a hedge against that, I started buying rental properties in Kansas City, specifically kind of in the Northland where I grew up, and always I had an interest in real estate investing, probably from high school. And that's sort of the exact opposite of something that has a lot of volatility and can go away quickly. Very little can take away real estate. So that was sort of the early spark of just a hedge against the fleeting business that I spent most of my time on. And then we got to a point with the online marketing business where we felt like we wanted to do something different. We had some big clients who were potentially interested in acquiring it, had those discussions and found a good match, and we were able to sell that business. And simultaneously, my wife and I, we always knew we wanted to end up in Kansas City with family here, and it's just an amazing place to raise a family. And just a million great reasons. So the timing sort of made sense to sell that business and come back to Kansas City and look for some new opportunities.
Well, you certainly have had that. Oh, by the way, there's also another business in the family with your wife, and so I know that you've always been an entrepreneur. At least that's what you told me, or had that entrepreneurial spirit. Clearly, that was already going at a pretty early age. Tell me about the business with your wife.
Yeah, so I bought North Terrace from the gentleman that founded it in 2017. And prior to that, I'd been looking for a business to buy, and I'd been networking kind of with the folks in Kansas City and regionally that represent owners of businesses and selling their businesses. And when I bought North Terrace, I sort of removed myself from that network and said, hey, I'm not going to get distracted by other opportunities. I don't want to consider other things. It's just I need to be focused on what I have. I didn't remove myself from one, and it turns out that was a good kind of mistake. I got a teaser on a business one time, which it's kind of typical. They'll send out little kind of blind couple of paragraphs. Hey, we've got this opportunity of this, certain type of business that the owner's taking to market type thing. And I got a teaser on a business that was in the air conditioning repair space, I thought. And it's a bizarre thing to have an interest in, but it's actually surprisingly very, like, it's a hot sector these days, kind of people rolling up those types of businesses. And I reached out to the intermediary that was representing that business for sale and started, kind of probing him with questions, telling him about the business I had bought and thinking, hey, maybe there's some synergies here. And he told me, well, no, they do like cooling towers for factories and things like that. So nothing to do with putting, a new furnace into a house or something like that. But we struck up a good conversation, and he asked if I would ever, potentially have any interest in acquiring another business. And I said, yeah, I mean, I'm open to interesting opportunities, but I think it's got to kind of be one of two things. It's either got to be synergistic with real estate in some way and sort of further that mission, or be just like a Kansas City institution that'll be super fun. I think I gave him the example of the roastery, which is far bigger than I could have put together a deal to acquire, but just something that's local, beloved. Doesn't matter if a Starbucks goes in next door. A lot of people are still going to go into the roastery. So something that, is kind of can't be Amazoned away and is a local sort of institution. And he said, that's interesting that you say that. I have something coming to market soon that I think kind of fits both those categories. And he teased me with a little bit of confidential information, and, well, not confidential, blind. He didn't tell me what business it was. And I guessed what business it was because I had grown up, going to Nell Hills, the business we eventually bought, with my mom and a lot of, I think, guys my age on up have funny associations with going to Atchison or now to Briarcliff, where we are, and sitting in the car or strolling around the streets while their, mom or wife or whatever is inside. So that was the beginning of 2018. It took a whole year to get that deal done, but we ended up, expressing interest in that business, telling, him, hey, we'd like to meet with the owners, see if we could be a fit. We kind of, I guess I can say this now that we're far enough removed, probably didn't have any business looking at an opportunity quite that large, but didn't want to totally say no. So we did have that dinner and we struck up a relationship and we found a way to kind of make it work.
It's a great story, by the way, too. And I'm pretty sure when I talk to people about their dreams that you weren't, as you were sitting in the car with your mom, thinking, I'm going to be a part owner of that place one day.
Well, it's ironic, actually. My mom was a sales rep in the sort of gift industry, and she sold to the product to the former owner of that business. And I actually have a pretty vivid memory of going on a sales call with her in the summer when school was out and falling asleep in the car and waking up all hot and sweaty. So I kind of had this negative association as a kid.
Well, it's turned around, obviously, for the best. I want to hit you with my baseball-themed questions now, brought to you by Kissick Construction. Trusted team, reliable partner. Check them out at kissico.com. What is in this, I'd say long, but short, you're just getting started in many ways. You got a lot of years left. What is the biggest home run you've hit so far, Brendan?
I mean, I think I'm just repeating myself here, but I think it has to be the acquisition of Nell Hills. It's such a special place and really is a local institution. And it brings, like, to its demographic, it's such a treat for them to go there. I mean, there are regulars that are there every single week and they love it. And they come in and just, their faces light up. And it's kind of it's a special thing to get to be a part of. And it's really my wife's business. I can't take much credit for it, but it's very exciting and fun to be around.
All right, second question on the baseball themed part of the podcast. What is the biggest swing and miss you've taken, and what did you learn from it?
So not so much a specific thing, but there was about a 1 year period, a couple of years after. So this is probably 18 months removed from now. After I bought my property management business, when we took on a lot of clients, we grew pretty rapidly, and we really grew too rapidly. We weren't selective about who we wanted to work with, and just got pretty overextended from a just like a personal sort of stress kind of angle, I guess, and saying yes too much, basically. And I have absolutely learned over the last year to be careful about that, be very selective, make sure that our values align with our clients, and it's far better to be small and great than it is to be big and okay.
Takes a certain discipline, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does. But I think I that's something that I'm learning more as I don't think I hope I'm not in the middle of my career yet, but maybe approaching the middle of my career. The first 10 or 12 years, I was sort of open to any opportunity, and now I feel like I'm not at all. And it's a relief to sort of be happy with what I have and focused on making it better rather than bringing on new things all the time.
Well, I say it, if anything, to myself all the time because I'm still trying to figure a lot of that out, and I'm quite a bit older than you, but I'm only 4 years into being an entrepreneur. Outside of my baseball world is the power of no, and it is. I think you just used a word, when you said relief. It's almost it's a relief when you could say, wait, I just steered myself away from one more commitment or one more thing that I'm not sure that I'm totally into or that I don't have the time. It's almost energizing to me. I'm assuming you feel the same way when you can get to that point.
Yeah, a very specific example. We had a client that really didn't want to invest in their property and causing a lot of heartache with the resident experience there. And it ended up being a situation where I had to be very involved for a long period of time. And it was probably 1% of our business, approximately, maybe less, actually, if I think about it. And I was spending maybe 10% of my time dealing with issues, and not a fun 10% of my time dealing with issues related to that. And I eventually, way later than I should have, said, "Hey, I just don't think this is a fit." It was, amicable split, but it felt amazing. It was definitely popped a beer that night and celebrated.
As you should. Final baseball theme question: small ball, the little things that add up to the big things. That's what the new book is about. Small ball, big results. And it can be anything, but to me, it's a culture question. It's kind of what makes you go every single day. What is small ball to you?
Um, what is small ball to me? Can I give you an example of something that I'm
Absolutely.
doing a little bit better at, but I need to be
Yeah.
working on more? I think for the first 10 or 12 years of my career, I was not good at showing gratitude. I felt it, but I didn't show it. And I hope I'm touching on something in the book. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but um, uh, I have been much better about that. And it was a purposeful thing over the last couple of years. And I've noticed a pretty big change in the way that our team interacts when there's a more constant feedback loop of not just, and this is very easy in property management specifically, not just focusing on the things that were missed, the balls that were dropped, but focusing on the things that were done right, and the surprise and delight stuff.
You know, I don't think that, first off, gratitude is to me such a key element to small ball. And it's interesting because I didn't necessarily write a chapter on it. And you're getting a book, by the way, it's coming your way. But
All
uh,
right.
you, I didn't, I didn't title a chapter gratitude, and I had 13 topics in the book. Everything from trust to mentoring. But I feel like there's a piece of gratitude or there's gratitude that is utilized in every single chapter. And I don't know that I've ever felt like, oh boy, that was too much gratitude. That, like, you can't go wrong in that. And that's true in every way. I mean, there'll be times where I'll hear from people, and when you don't expect it, and suddenly they express that gratitude, or hey, thanks for doing this, and it completely energizes you. I mean, it's such a simple thing to do that is so often overlooked, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And it's an infinitely renewable resource. It doesn't take much personal energy. It's just a habit, and if you make a point of doing it over and over, yeah, it absolutely comes back to you, and it feels great.
All right, let's hit my 4 final questions as we round the bases. We'll start a little bit lighthearted on this one. We've already established everything that's going on with Nell Hills, and really your wife. We know she gets more credit than you do. My question is, do you have any say in terms of design, in terms of furnish, in terms of anything that you could get at Nell Hills? Do you have any say, or is it all her?
I have to say, yeah, yeah. We actually, it's fun. Most of the time when I'm in there, it's because we're shopping for stuff. So I'm like no help at all, really, day to day. But I go in on the weekends and we shop for stuff. We moved about a year ago, and we're slowly sort of piecing everything together. So I've got a little say, but definitely she's the tiebreaker. I wouldn't say we really even tie, though. It's just she just goes for it. But
You
I'm involved.
All right, fair enough. That it's a fair. I think it's a fair question too. It's a good one, but clearly, look, if you were going to say that you had the final say and that it was all you, I'd need to get her on this podcast right now to really confirm that. I didn't expect that to be the answer. Second one is, I don't know if I'd call it lighthearted, but it's kind of fun. I believe that you had a chance to meet a pretty decent name of a business mentor at some point. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I did. It's this is I have, I guess, two things in common with Chase Daniel. We went to Mizzou at the same time, and we three things. We took a finance class together, and we both got to meet Warren Buffett, and that was you know as far as my academic experience, that was definitely the highlight of my college career. It was pretty cool. I think there was probably 60 of us in this group from three Big 12 at the time universities, and he took an hour to take pictures with everybody. We all went to lunch together, and then he took a couple hours to give us a tour of his jewelry store, Nebraska Furniture Mart, and it's pretty amazing.
Was there a big takeaway beyond just I'm sure what was, oh my goodness, I'm hanging out with Warren Buffett right now. But what was your lasting memory, not in terms of image or anything like that, but just in terms of something that you've been able to use?
Well, just, I mean, no, there was complete, excuse me, humility. No, I mean, just the image that he portrays publicly was absolutely that he was way he was, and it's not like it was private, but he was incredibly humble, and just, I mean, it's hilarious. He was taking pictures, and he would have people, act like they're pulling his wallet away from him. His wallet was about that thick with discount cards. So he's just the most regular guy on one hand, which was pretty cool to see.
But that's got to leave an impression too, right? I mean, it's the old, well, if he can do this, then who am I to do that, right? I mean, he can pretty much do anything he wants in this world. So those are always, to me, pretty grounding type of experiences when you meet someone and they're genuinely real.
Yeah,
which everybody's always said about him, but most of us haven't experienced it.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really cool.
Okay, third question. Let's get back to talking a little bit of property management. I think that you even like a insurance guy that'll come on this show, or like a lawyer. Not that I have a lot, but there's always that characterization of a field where it feels like the good guys in that profession always have to qualify things in advance. Like, we're not all like this. What's the biggest misnomer in property management that you see?
I think maybe two things. One, that we want to be vindictive or something like that. We absolutely do not. I think sometimes we'll have conversations with people, and they think that if they don't pay their rent, then we're going to withhold repairs or any crazy thing like that. And we absolutely don't want to do that. We want to just, a great product that they enjoy living in, and, live there as long as they want, and a good relationship. So there's absolutely no sort of, joy in any of the, wait, we're on the same team, I guess. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest thing.
A quick follow-up to that one too. I mean, just looking through the website, your company's website, northterrace.com, and got all the properties listed throughout the Kansas City area too. Is there I was thinking about this because, like, for me, obviously I'm living the dream. I get to talk about baseball every day. I've done it for a long time. You take some things for granted after a while because it's what you do every single day. I still get excited about the wins and losses. To me, it's more about the people. And as you start to understand that, you dig a little bit deeper. But what are the emotions like when you buy a property? When do you become attached to them? Is it just business? Is it how do you sort of look at when you look at that property map of yours? Is there emotion involved in each of those places, or is it just business?
Yeah, no, there's definitely emotion. It's super fun. I mean, a lot of what we have the privilege to manage are kind of historical properties, whether they're literally historical, like designated by some body historical, or just in a really, interesting part of town. About two-thirds of what we manage is kind of in the Westport and Plaza area. And that's my favorite part of Kansas City. It's kind of where I spend all my time. And it's really fun to get to spend all our time there, and then, take something that's maybe been neglected for a while, and make it kind of shine again. But then even in the areas that are a little bit less traditionally cool, quote unquote, it's fun to inject a little life into something that's been forgotten about. And I mean, I get really excited about when we take something over, going out and sourcing materials and just doing sort of unexpected stuff, to the extent that it's possible. We kind of play in an affordable middle ground, so we don't do crazy stuff. We're not putting in $5,000 stoves or anything nuts like that, but we get to do some fun, creative stuff, and I love seeing a list of 10 Home Depot links become a beautiful finished product. And I'm lucky because I've got a number of people on my team, so I get to be the guy that just pulls the Home Depot links, and then they call me when it's when it's the finished product. So get to do the fun stuff for the most part.
And really rewarding, I'm sure too, when you see. I mean, you talk about putting that shine on something, bringing it back. That there has to be a lot of purpose for you in that too.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love old things, and it's fun to get to kind of make old new again.
All right, last thing, the walk-off question, and I often ask this to entrepreneurs and those that have been on the journey because it never ends. I say that in the best of ways too. Sometimes it can be a bad thing, but you're never really satisfied. And I don't mean that in a way of I want to go make more money. I want to go make more money. I just mean most entrepreneurs, they're always looking for the next thing. They like that challenge. Their mind is constantly moving all over the place. I'm guessing that's you. If I'm wrong, tell me so. But if I'm right, what do you have on your mind? I know you're not done. What are you looking at in the future?
Yeah, so I had that sort of affliction to a level of it being classified as an affliction, I guess. Like I said, sort of for the first 5 or 10 years of my career. And now it's in check, I think, to a fairly healthy level of being curious, being interested, not, just sitting in my office all day, kind of waiting for the day to end. But my focus right now is really like making what we have great, because we've been fortunate enough to kind of get some really exciting opportunities, that I'm not trying to go buy a million buildings or another business or anything like that at this point. I really just want to make what we have perfect. And I actually have a business mentor who's been really inspirational for me, and it's one of those guys I started working for when I was at Mizzou. And when I was at Mizzou working for him, I saw the success he was having, and I would constantly be kind of like pulling at his coattail, saying, "Hey, let's do this thing, and we can do this." And he would be sitting in his office thinking about culture at his business and things like that. That to me at that time, I pretty much thought it was BS. Like the culture should be grow and do more. And I have made that shift. I think maybe not quite to the Zen-like level that he is, but I aspire to that. And it was fortunate to see. I think I kind of got to see some businesses when they were maybe at the juncture that I'm at now, and now I've seen what that's resulted in a decade later. So to apply that is much smaller scale, but apply that focus and that I guess just focus to my own businesses.
Yeah, it's powerful, and it means that hopefully that you are on the path to that Zen-like experience, which comes with wisdom and experience and age, and it never ends, which is the good thing too. If people want to learn more about Brandon's company, you can go to northterrace.com, and you may already know about it, but you can go to nellhills.com as well to learn about his wife's business, and there's some others involved in that too. And so before we wrap up real quick, just want to give a little shout out to my sponsors, Kansas City Audiovisual, Kitsa Construction, and Enterprise Bank and Trust. Businesses often come to Enterprise Bank because they demand and frankly are worthy of more than the status quo and need a local partner who understands their business. So you can, again, find out more about Brandon at northterrace.com or his company. You can find out more about me, my book, all that good stuff at joelgoldbergmedia.com. Brandon, thanks so much for spending time today on Rounding the Bases.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
All right, great to be able to visit with Brandon Laughridge of North Terrace, also Nell Hills. I am Joel Goldberg, and I hope to catch you next time on Rounding the Bases.